Okay, Adam Taxin here with Stan Whitt, who does security here at the Jekyll Island Club and Hotel. We are sitting in the Federal Reserve Room. Now it is December 23rd, the 100th anniversary of the passage of the Federal Reserve Act, which I'll emphasize occurred in Washington, not here in Jekyll Island, but it's a lot nicer to be here in Jekyll Island than Washington right now.
Well, I mean, no, it's actually nicer to be here all the time than it is in Washington.
Yeah. So this is where all the magic took place, depending on how you look at it. You want to tell us a little about the room, about the hotel, the club?
Well, I can tell you plenty about the club. I mean, the club was founded in 1886. I mean, actually, this club was actually founded on a love affair. Are you interested in that?
Yeah.
I mean, when I tell people, this is actually not a fact that a lot of people will bring forward, but of course, you realize that Jekyll Island was a cotton plantation prior to the Civil War.
I didn't know that. I don't know anything.
Okay, well, it was owned by a family by the name of Dubignon.
Mm-hmm.
The Dubignon family, I think it was Henry Dubignon, fled the French Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
They got out of France with their money in their heads. They came here, they bought the island, and they established a cotton plantation, slaves and the whole works.
It was cotton, not rice. We're far enough south that they grew
Sea Island cotton.
Okay.
I mean,
rice would be a little further
well,
north.
no, actually, if you're looking for a rice plantation, then you would go up to the Butler plantation, which is a little bit toward McIntosh County.
Okay.
In fact, the Butler plantation was a huge rice plantation,
Mm-hmm.
but this was a cotton plantation. Anyways, long and short of it was that Henry had a son by the name of Eugene Dubignon, and Eugene had a sister by the name of Josephine.
Mm-hmm.
Josephine didn't care too much for the plantation living. She actually lived over in Brunswick, I think, with some aunts. In fact, I do believe that the home that she lived in still exists over in Brunswick. Now, we're talking about prior Civil War.
Brunswick, for everyone who's watching, is
Brunswick, Georgia.
Yeah, right near here. It's the mainland.
The mainland.
Yeah,
that's right. That would be the mainland.
You cross from Brunswick over here.
Mm-hmm. So, anyways, as it stands, there was a gentleman by the name of Newton Finney,
Mm-hmm.
and Newton was doing survey work. And when I say survey work for these people, I'm not talking about anybody in specific, but I'm talking about just this particular caliber of people who founded the club. And he was down here doing survey work. I think it was probably for railroad, but I'm not going to go to the bank on that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, he was doing the survey work, and he comes down here and he meets young Josephine,
Mm-hmm.
and Newton and Josephine fall in love, and they end up getting married. Well, now the Civil War comes in, and of course it destroys the plantation system, and after the Civil War, these people they didn't have the money to hire help, and of course the slave system was destroyed, so they didn't have slaves, and so you had a bunch of very broke plantation owners trying to figure out how to make a living.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Newton goes back to doing what he knows best. He's doing survey work, and he's doing survey work for a lot of folks from up there out of New York. Now, Newton knows that there's a whole bunch of New Yorkers that are trying to get out of those harsh northern winters.
Sure.
And so what he does is he comes down here, and I mean, this could be a river.
Florida, as we knew it, didn't exist yet.
No, Florida was just for the Seminole
Swamps,
Indians and swamps and gators and snakes. So Newton comes back down here. He gets with Eugene because, of course, a lot of the plantations at that time were sold to different individuals, just like the Carnegies bought Cumberland. Well, anyhow, Newton goes up and he raised the what they call the Union Club roster list.
Mm-hmm.
He gets some people interested in a hunting club, which did not exist. I mean, in fact, there's a picture right over there of what the place looked like when they first built it. I mean, all these big, beautiful trees you see did not exist at that time because this club was built basically in the middle of a cotton field, an abandoned cotton field. So. Anyhow, we're talking about a very long, complicated story, but anyways, they make up these big, beautiful flyers, and they go up and they get a lot of interest, and they manage to raise the, initial, I can't remember what it was, $45,000 or something like that to build the first part of the club. So like I tell people, is that if it had not been for the union between Newton Finney and Josephine Dubignon, who was a native Lincolnian, probably this island, instead of being what it is today, probably would have went into private hands, and everything would have changed. And of course, the reason the state of Georgia has this island is because the club members, who were all very wealthy at that time, of course, but they pretty well, the contributing members died. They moved along. The children weren't interested in the place. They defaulted on their taxes, And that's how the state of Georgia got it, because they ended up, basically seizing the island for taxes. So that's how the club got its start. And of course, it's been a ongoing sort of thing. It became very after they opened the doors. I think it was 1887. They opened the doors. It became very popular. More and more demand. Of course, it was very Victorian at the time. There was more and more demand for more and more space. And of course, they started adding on. And when they built the annex in 1901, opened the doors on the annex in 1902. A lot of these people wanted more elbow room, which is when they started building the cottages all around. And now the most amazing thing, actually, is that these people got along with each other at all. Because actually, they hated
big
each
egos,
other.
yes.
Oh yeah, they all have big egos. And I mean, you think about it. If you think about
J.P. Morgan, man, he looked like a really fun guy.
Yeah.
You look at those pictures. He looked like a
I think I've heard other things said about J.P. Morgan.
Right.
So
I think he's one of the guys in the picture back there, which won't.
No, Morgan's not in that picture.
Morgan's not in that.
Can you pardon me 1 minute?
Yeah, sure.
Just you pause it or whatever. I don't know.
I don't know if I can pause it.
Security.
Gives a feel of authenticity.
Okay, I'm in the Federal Reserve.
See, he really is security here.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
When did J.P. Morgan acquire it? It was his private hunting club when the Fed was created in 1910.
No. It was never owned by any one particular individual. That was these were club members. I mean, in fact, the way that this place is set up today, it's set up in a hotel fashion. But if you go back to when the club was actually built, it was built in a series of apartments that were stacked in different architectural styles, but they were apartments. And of course, after the state took over in 1947, I think somewhere right around there, 46, 47, the rooms, the apartments were subdivided into hotel rooms at that time. But this was all a matter of, these were all apartments. These people owned the apartments, and of course they would allow their guests to come down and stay in here and that kind of thing. But I can't remember the exact number, like 51 or 57, something like that, initial club members. And of course what they would do anytime they wanted something done, they would hold a committee meeting and everybody would, see, you had to be nominated to be a part of the club.
Yeah, okay, so maybe it was J.P. Morgan's private club, but the others who were creating the Fed just weren't members of the club.
So they were members of the club.
The Rothschild.
Well, I think if you go back to the original list, I got it somewhere. I don't know
Jewish
exactly
guys
where it
didn't
is.
hunt. Come on.
Yeah,
those guys.
well,
The Loeb family.
He used to say they all hunted. I mean, they came down here and they went to the grand dining room and they ate real good and they drank a lot of liquor. They smoked their cigars. I am absolutely certain that a mistress or two made their way down here.
No.
Oh, absolutely.
No. Where they come from? Brunswick? Or?
No. I think probably brought their girlfriends with them once in a while. I mean, you know how that
I thought
works.
maybe they brought some ladies the night in.
Nah, they had more class than that. I mean, you know,
I don't know what people were into.
I don't think they were too involved with the working girls.
Yeah.
Sporting girls. I think they called them sporting girls at that time, something like that, spoiled doves. But no, I mean,
well, it was quoted and it was clouded in secrecy. So.
Oh, it was very when they did the Federal Reserve. It was my understanding. And you know, I'm not going to claim 100% accuracy in what I'm about to say, okay? Because somebody will just look and say, oh, that ain't right. But you know, the thing of it is that I believe that when you started going from state to state to state to state, and there were so many different banking rules from state to state to state, what they were doing was trying to look for some sort of stability in business between states. If you lived in New York, you wanted to be able to do a business deal with Georgia or somewhere, and pretty well have some of the same rules apply as far as where your money is. So, you know, they sneaked down here. I understand it was very clandestine, and they came down here under a lot of pretenses. They hammered out what they believed was going to be the Federal Reserve, which was going to be a banking system, a loan system, a banking system that everybody could live by and abide by, which would give some sort of continuity and stability to the money system. And then they took off and they went all about, and they went out and they implemented it. And that's what they did. And of course, the individuals that were involved in it made a lot of money.
Of course.
Oh yeah, that's because these people, that's what they were involved in.
Well, they had a lot of money. They made a lot more money.
Oh yeah, well that's, I mean, of course.
Yeah.
I mean,
these are their work.
but you know, if you go to the San Souci, you familiar with the San Souci?
No, I know.
Okay, that's the big green building over here.
Okay.
You're facing the San Souci.
I got here like a half hour, 45 minutes ago.
All right. Well, the San Souci is considered to be, so they say, I don't know whoever they are,
Mm-hmm.
but so they say is like America's first set of condominiums. It's a big building over here, big green building, and if you're standing in front of that building, you look up to the far right apartment, because there was 6 apartments in that building. That far right apartment was J.P. Morgan's apartment.
Check it out tomorrow.
But no, there was no one owner of this club. It was all done by committee. If you wanted to say, if somebody wanted to become a member of the club, you had to find somebody that would actually nominate you to be a member. You had to get somebody to second you,
Mm-hmm.
and then of course they would go and see, what your moral character was and how much
like
money you have
club.
and everything, and then they would take a vote whether, they would take a vote as to whether you could become a member or not. So it was very exclusive. Very exclusive.
Sure.
At that time.
Now, just a hunting question. The main things people hunted here, I guess, were deer, duck, pheasant, or anything particular to the region that I might not think of?
Hogs.
There were hogs here?
Well, there's a lot of hogs, and there's a lot of hogs here then, and a lot of hogs here now.
And they're native to it?
They were introduced, but we're talking about the feral hogs being introduced. In the 1700s,
Mm-hmm.
1600s when they first started settling.
Oh, okay.
They brought them in. They escaped, and then they went about and did whatever.
They have that TV show on A&E or the Discovery Channel now.
Yeah, I guess.
Anything about the room in particular people might want to know? I mean, it looks like someone's living room from here, but this is the room where the Federal Reserve was. I guess it was created in Washington, but it was brainstormed here.
Oh, it was brainstormed here.
Yeah.
I mean, of course it would have been created in Washington. I mean, that's where that's
what the anniversary is.
But as far as the foundation of the mechanics and so on and so forth, it was all done right here in this room.
How long a period was that? Were they here for days or?
I don't know, a month, a few weeks. I mean, it didn't take them too long.
Spent a lot of time in this room, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was very clandestine, like I say. They didn't want anybody to actually know what they were doing at the time. Why, I don't know, I guess.
Any final stories? Just want to give people a feel for the room.
Oh, this place is absolutely full of stories, according to what you're looking for. People love ghost stories around here. They love.
Oh, how about a ghost story?
You want a ghost story?
Yeah, bring it up.
Okay, I'll tell you a ghost story, but it's not so much involved in this room.
Okay.
But
people have seen enough, heard enough about the room.
When you were out here, you saw the courtyard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we hear sometimes, like the second night that I worked here. This has been quite some time ago, but the second night I worked here, I'm down in the basement area of the club, and I go over to where the cafe area is, right over here, and I'm underneath it in the basement. I hear what sounds like to me above me, what a bunch of people up there laughing and talking, and you know what it sounds like when people are cutting food on and it's tinking, the glasses clinking, and these kinds of things. I hear this going on above me. Well, I walk out into the courtyard, I come up into the courtyard, and I look up on the veranda, and I'm saying, well, Lord have mercy, I don't see nobody up there. How'd they get away from me that quick? So I went up on the veranda, and of course, I don't see anybody up. I mean, there's no evidence at all, no dishes, no glasses. Now I'm thinking, okay, well, it could be like acoustics, and you know how acoustics are. Sometimes it'll sound like something's here. So I spent about the next hour wandering this place, looking on balconies, just looking for this group of people that I heard. So I can't find a group of people, but I very distinctly heard, in fact, there's one young lady that had a very beautiful laugh, and I could hear her laughing. At that time, I go back over to the front desk where the night auditors are, and I told them, I said, the strangest thing happened to me. And I told them what had taken place. I said, oh, you heard the party. And people around here hear the party sometimes. So you sit out here late at night. It's always in December, January, February, which would have been when these people were here. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when you sit out on the verandas and you sit there very quietly and you listen, you'll start hearing people talking. You'll start hearing this stuff. I mean, I don't know what it is, but it's definitely, because I didn't know anything at all about this place the first time I heard it. Mm-hmm. It was pretty odd. But you hear it. That's the
party, so I should take a look outside. Or is it over by 12:30 a.m.?
No, there's no telling.
Okay.
There's no telling. I mean, a lot of times sitting right out, on the two chairs going into the lobby area, which would be right over here. Mm-hmm. You could sit there. You could sit there a lot of times, and you sit quietly and just listen. Which, of course, being security, I do spend a lot of time sitting quietly and listening and watching what's going on. And you'll start hearing whispering and footsteps, and every once in a while you hear a party. I mean, these things happen. It's like I tell people all the time. I said, I don't know about ghosts. I mean, I have no clue about ghosts. And I can tell you that the ghost thing is not like Hollywood where, you know, they come out of the wall, we got you, and all that kind of crap. That's not really the way it works. But every once in a while, something will occur, something will take place where you sit there and you go, what was that? And it's not to say that there's not a logical explanation for it or a reasonable explanation for it. Could be. It just means that I couldn't find it. And a lot of people will, you know, there's a lot of people reporting things like footsteps and people, doors opening and closing and all that.
I will keep my eyes and ears open.
But it's all friendly.
Good.
Yeah, it's all very friendly. I mean, you never hear anybody get too.
J.P. Morgan doesn't complain around here?
No.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you an interesting thing about J.P. Morgan. You think about it. What year was it the Titanic sank? 1912, 13,
I think it was 1912, yeah.
1912?
Yeah.
Well, of course, J.P. Morgan was a member of the club in the 1912. He owned that apartment over there. Now, this is pure fantasy, mind you, pure fantasy.
Right.
I'm not saying there's no fact to it, but I can just imagine J.P. Morgan sitting over there at the San Souci up on that balcony with his cognac and his cigar and getting the news that the Titanic had sunk because he had a controlling interest in the White Star Line.
I didn't know that.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, there's people that...
Makes sense.
Oh, yeah, there's conspiracy on the internet. You can read about it. There's conspiracy stuff on the internet saying that J.P. Morgan actually sank the Titanic to get rid of some of his competitors because you think about it, I think Astor, Guggenheim, some of those folks are on there, yeah. And I mean, these are people that were direct competitors to Morgan. You know, it's much bull, but still. I don't know. I mean, who's going to crash their big line?
100th anniversary of Fed. It's the time to talk about conspiracies.
Conspiracies, well, there's plenty of those.
All right, Stan, this is getting long. I may talk to you more tomorrow. Stan Whitt.
Well, the thing is that they actually make me take time off. Mondays and Tuesdays are the days that they make me take off. I will be back here Wednesday.
I don't know if I'll be here. Wednesday's a big day. I'm Jewish, but imagine you're not.
No.
Sorry you have to work Wednesday.
Well, that's okay. I don't mind. I'm always grateful to work. I mean, I never turn down work and I never turn down the money.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's what it's all about.
I hear people tip better that day, probably.
Nah, I doubt it. It's according to what kind of mood you're in and how much Jaeger they drink.
Yeah, well, I won't tell the tipping stories you guys told me at the bar. We shouldn't put that on camera.
Probably not.
About certain people not tipping that well, you might think would have the means to, but we won't.
Well, I mean, you know, it's according to the mood you're in. I mean, it's according to the mindset.
Gotcha.
You know, it's what makes this country wonderful. Is you got the diversity between people and the way they think. And if people would just learn to listen to each other just a little bit more, we'd all get along a lot better instead of being so hidebound and being so stuck on your ideology, and you just can't listen to what anybody else says. And you know what? On both sides of the aisle.
Right.
On both sides of the aisle, they're both guilty about not listening to what other people say and entertaining. Because I don't care if you got a good idea, I don't care where that good idea came from or who it came from. If you got a good idea, let's do it. Prove it to me that it's a good idea, and we'll do it.
Stan Whitt, we'll continue this another time.
Okay.
Thanks for all the info, and happy 100th anniversary of the creation of the Federal Reserve.
It's always interesting.
Which was thought about right here on Jekyll Island, in this particular Federal Reserve room.
We're guilty one way or the other.
Exactly.